Good morning, welcome back to my crafty hen house. My name is Elaine and we're out with the bees again today. And I just want to talk to you for a moment about some of the items you need to prepare yourself when you come out to do a hive inspection is what we're going to be doing today. It is the end of March and it's about 11:30 in the morning. We're in a bit of a shaded area where I have my bees, as you can see, they are right there. And they're not as active as they would be in the afternoon, so this is the perfect time for me to go into my hive. You want to be careful not to disrupt them in the evenings when they're coming back. It tends to get really busy in the afternoon and the hive heats up, so it agitates them when you get in there too late in the afternoon. But let me show you some of the things I have that I prepare myself with when I get ready to go into the hive. And I know my things are a little scattered out, but I always make sure that I have my smoker all set up and it's lit up properly so that I don't get to the hive and it accidentally goes out. I have a little table that I use where I always make sure that I have my racks, and I have this little tool. Oops, I have my brusher if I end up with the ability to get any honey that I can brush the bees off. I, of course, always bring some water, but I have my little vacuum. Y'all know about my little vacuum for the beetles. And I have a little swing over here, but I keep a bag here in case I do get any frames. I can immediately put them in a bag. That way I'm not enticing the bees to come to the frames that I pulled. So with those small items that I have set out, oh, and one other thing, I also bring out my diatomaceous earth and my bug destroyer, which is for my bull ants. And what I'll do is before I take the top off, I'll go ahead and do any trimming around the hive that needs to be done. And I'll lay my bug destroyer, my diatomaceous earth down so that when I'm done with the hive, I can close it up and walk out. So let's get started. Well, that task is done and we've got everything trimmed up. We got the bug destroyer and the diatomaceous earth laid down. Anything that I wanted to get trimmed up is trimmed up, and they have not sent any scouts out after me. Let me turn you around. So they are very calm still. And some of the bug destroyer and the diatomaceous earth that I have down here, when I go and I put the hive back together and I leave for the final time, I will go ahead and move that around with my foot just a little to blend it in. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my hive inspection. No hive beetles. they've got the top sealed pretty good, so I want to give them a little bit of a smoke. I'm gonna wait just a second. This will drive them down into the lower frame. No hive beetles. We're going to start right off with the first frame. They've really been working. One beetle. Let's see if we can't get him. There's about 3 or 4 hive beetles there. Let's move on to frame number 2.
No, like she did with us? Nope, no, never again. I think it was just too hot. I think it was too hot. Yep. Yeah. And I mean, I know it happens to a couple of colleagues of mine where
One. Go to frame number 3. Nice build up. Frame 4. They're in frame 4 on the east side. They're adding in nectar. Not sure if you can see it glistening. And on the back side a little bit. Go to frame 5. No hive beetles. More nectar in the beginning of capping on the east side. Frame 6. Lots of nectar. 7. Nice buildup. And we'll check on frame 8 just to make sure about any hive beetles. There's a couple.
And then he's like, well, we'll do it Monday when I get home. Well, Monday came and went, and I'm not doing it
Couple of the hive beetles don't want to come out when I'm using my little vacuum, so I use this size nail. It's a 16 penny nail with a flat head, and I can go right in the comb without putting my finger in the comb and destroying the comb. And you're going to get most of your hive beetles on the ends, so it's just something to watch out for. All right, let's go ahead and put our hive back. In my opinion, they're doing very well. We'll get more production as we get closer to April. So I'm really happy with the buildup that they've done. There's a beetle. You don't want to ruin all the hard work that they've done to create this nice comb. So that's why it's best to use a little nail head. And they like to go around the edge of the frame. And they don't like sunlight. All right. So that was another successful hive inspection. It only took me about a half an hour to do that inspection, and that's really good. And I like to make everything go as smooth as possible and not let the bees get upset with me by hanging around too much. As you noticed when I was putting down the diatomaceous earth and the dead bug and the trimming, I made a big circle around the front of the hive. Not to walk right in front of the hive and irritate them. They are out on the porch, we like to call it, and I'm just trying to give them as much peace as I possibly can and take the opportunity to go into the hive and check things out. So it was a successful hive inspection. I had about, I'm gonna say, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 hive beetles. Which is fine. I'm happy with that. They were all on the outside frames, and they were on the very back side of the frame, which I understand the bees, they just try to shoo them away and keep them on the outside perimeter. So I really was okay with it. It's not like I was getting before in the 200s of hive beetles. That was driving me absolutely crazy, but I got it under control. This little desk vacuum works really, really good. It has a little attachment, and I cut the attachment down to make it a little shorter, and it goes on the front, and I have this little tiny jar. I guess it was a relish jar, and the head fits perfectly inside the jar, so they can fall out of the head of the little vacuum and go right into the bottom of this jar that has vegetable oil in it, just a little, so it kills them. So I'm really happy with how that's working for me. You may have different tools that you use. I don't like to break down the comb that they work so hard to build. That's why I got the little vacuum, or I use the 16 penny nail, the head of it, just to go in the middle of the comb if there's one that won't come up. But I think I'm gonna wait for another month to go by, really let everything come into bloom here, and then I'll go back in and check again. And hopefully by that time they're going to be really building up and capping off their honey. But it was successful. I didn't go into the brood box, wasn't necessary. They were doing really good and very calm. So I was very, very happy with how everything turned out today. So thank you so much for joining me at my beehive, and I hope you're having success with your hives. And until next time, thank you so much for joining me, and God bless.